Shalom, shalom. First and foremost, I want to give all praise, honor, and glory to Yahweh, Bahashem, Yahweh Shai, Bahashem, Rokah HaKodash. Double honors to the elders and bishops of Great Millstone who teach and rule well, and salutations to the beloved prophets and brothers continue to exhort the sheep in these last days. And a mighty shalom to all the hopeful listeners listening in to the 12 tribes scattered abroad. The title of this epistle is going to be entitled, We Must Remain Diligent. We must remain diligent in what we come to learn about the scriptures and removing all the falsities and the lies, and the importance of continuing to exhort those that have the ears to hear and eyes to see in these last days to remain diligent and pushing back the narrative provided on the left-hand side to bring in the sincere sheep who will honor and obey the commands and the statutes set before us and doing the will of the Most High Yahweh himself. We are given the inspiration and the strength to do so through our Messiah, Hamashiach Yahweh Shai, and how he came and to do the Father's will, to teach disciples to go and wake up the lost sheep of the house of Israel. And he did so nonstop and bore his cross all the way into persecution. And we are given that same lot to fulfill as we entered into his works and those that came after him, to push repentance to our people, for them to come out of the ways of the world before the impending dangers come through and catch them unawares. So we are to be the watchman on the wall, to continue to stand guard and be very circumspect and watchful, and to stay locked into the scriptures, to bring forth the things that are hidden in mysteries unto the light, so that others may receive it. We'll go into Matthew chapter 9 and start at verse 35 and read to 38 as the Messiah, and investigate what he was doing in these times too, right? So we'll start at verse 35, and it says, And Yahweh Shai went about all the cities and villages, teaching in their synagogues and preaching the gospel of the kingdom, and healing every sickness and every disease among the people. In other words, those that have eaten the philosophies and drank the strong drink of these pastors, and those that wield the Bible in their hand, are teaching things they ought not to, and causing sickness unto the masses and their congregation. They have their followers in their fellowship believe in comfortability and that all things are going to be well and good, but have not given them the warning to come out of the ways of the world and to adhere to the scriptures, and to practice the righteous rehearsals of our forefathers. These individuals, they work on the left-hand side, and John 10:10, it says the devil come to steal, kill, and destroy, and those that do his bidding, they are of that side, the left-hand side. They're working in opposition to those that are trying to draw the sincere sheep out of the ways and the philosophies of the world. And this is the sickness and the diseases that are in people. Their conscience is seared with false narratives and false doctrines. Verse 36 of Matthew chapter 9, it says, But when he saw the multitudes, he was moved with compassion on them, because they fainted and were scattered abroad as sheep having no shepherd. The men of that time, as the men of this time, are set up through the elders and those that have the true 100% doctrine of understanding what the will of the Father is, some have fallen out away from the faith because they didn't have the adequate amount of endurance built up to sustain all the trials and tribulations that must come, the persecutions, they must come. You have to be rejected by many in this world because they're not drawn to the light. They're not drawn to righteousness, but they feel much more comfortable sitting in the mouth of an alligator, you know, thinking that they have all things provided for them, until a time come where that will not be provided for them. You know, there's not going to be readily accessible food. There's not going to be an excess of fuel for your vehicles, and ultimately that nice home that you live in, you're going to have to recompense in some manner, shape, or fashion if you want to live in there. And that is going to be a snare unto the people, as to where the right hand side, the Father's strong right hand side, has the workers doing diligent work and to trying to wake the people up about these judgments that are going to be poured out. You know, we have the beast system that's going to be rolling out, the implementation of the RFID chip that will be subdermally implanted underneath the skin, in which everything you do will be monitored, and your behavior on how you spend those digital tokens is not going to be in your power to use, but in the power of the beast himself. So he has compassion on the ones that he has set up, but they fainted. And it tells us in Galatians chapter 6, let me go there real quick. Galatians chapter 6 and 9, it says, Galatians chapter 6 and 9, it says, "And let us not be weary in well-doing, for in due season we shall reap if we faint not. As we have therefore opportunity, let us do good unto all men, especially unto them who are of the household of faith." Those that are of the household of faith, we are to stay locked in and edify one another, to build each other up. There may be verses and understanding that the body of Hamashiach Yahushai has come to the acknowledgement of, and you put forth your good fruits in that basket so other men may eat as well. This is the breaking of the bread, you know, so we can edify and build each other up, so that way when we go and do our work diligently and wake up those that may receive the word, we can build their faith up as well. And there's going to be those that are on the left hand side eating from the false shepherd set up, that is going to make them sick with falsities and false understandings. So we still have to, you know, we must remain diligent, in other words. But this is why he had compassion on them when they fainted, because the work sometimes can be very laborious, and the combativeness that you get from people and the comments that come out of these people's sepulchres, they're just truly defiled, and the spirit within them shows forth, you know. Verse 37, Matthew 9 and 37, it says, "Then saith he unto his disciples, The harvest truly is plenteous, but the laborers are few. Pray ye therefore that the Most High Yahweh of the harvest, that he will send forth laborers into his harvest." So maybe in some disproportionate areas where there might be brethren working solo, that you may receive that help, you know, that the Father will ultimately send forth some laborers into the harvest to help you gather in those grape clusters, those desired seeds that he wishes to bring into the store barn before he continues to do the separation of the wheat and tares. So we must continue to push forth the edification, to wake up one another and rebuke and exhort, and to teach the doctrine of repentance for people to come out of the ways of Christianity and Islamic faith and Buddhism and Hinduism and Roman Catholicism, all these philosophies, they were implemented by man and put forth as some kind of righteous way of living with the disguise of using the Bible. But that is all heresy and false teachings. These are all lies. Let's continue on. We're going to John chapter 4. See, the Messiah was diligent in the work, and he did not stop because he knew the importance of his will that had to be fulfilled. He did not stop. Didn't take a rest. John chapter 4. John chapter 4, verse 31 to 38. And it reads, In the meanwhile, his disciples prayed him, saying, Master, eat. But he said unto them, I have meat to eat that ye know not of. Therefore said the disciples one to another, Has any man brought him anything to eat? The disciples were, in a sense, caring for the Messiah, that he receive the benefits of having some food for nutrition in his body. But the Messiah was so focused on getting the task that was needed to be done, and that was for the restoration and the salvation of the 12 tribes, that this verse here just shows it expresses the urgency and not being complacent. You know, you have food, you can go and eat it, but we must stay focused on the task of hand, is what is being relayed and conveyed in this section of John chapter 4. And again at verse 31, in the meanwhile, his disciples prayed him, saying, Master, eat. But he said unto them, I have meat to eat that ye know not of. Therefore saith the disciples one to another, Has any man brought him anything to eat? Verse 34, Yahushua said unto them, My meat is to do the will of him that sent me, and to finish his work. Say not ye, There are yet 4 months, and then cometh harvest. Behold, I say unto you, Lift up your eyes, and look on that of the fields, for they are white and ready to harvest. So, in looking in at what was at hand, the Messiah was telling them, don't be so complacent in waiting 4 months for the harvest to reap, but the harvest is already prepared for you to go and retrieve. This is talking about those that may be filled with some level of understanding of what is entailed in the scriptures, but to go and continue to collect those that are already built up in a sense, so that way when you bring forth a little more understanding, they may be grafted in and folded in back to the Father. Verse 36, and he, let me see if I have any side notes. Yeah, the urgency to do the works is what the Messiah was coming to do. And verse 36, I'll read 35 again. Say not ye, There are yet 4 months, and then cometh harvest. Behold, I say unto you, Lift up your eyes, means look up, look what's in front of you. I say unto you, Lift up your eyes, and look on the fields, for they are white already to harvest. And he that reapeth receiveth wages, and gathereth fruit unto life eternal, that both he that soweth and he that reapeth may rejoice together. There are those that came before us that have already gone into the world, into the field, and have planted good seeds. And in a sense, there are those individuals that have not received that everlasting living water for them to grow and spring up a wealth of wisdom, coming to the full acknowledgement of, oh, now it makes sense. now I know what Paul was talking about. Now I know why the Messiah came to teach the commandments. You know, when you add that additional 1, 2 seeds, whatever it may be, whatever the Father has put into you to go and teach, you know, you could waken somebody up now to walk away from the ways of the world and the false philosophies therein, is what he's saying. Verse 37. And herein is that saying true, one soweth and another one reaps. So you get to reap the benefits of the work that another planter has already sown in the field, is what he's saying. We can go and get some understanding in 1 Corinthians chapter 3, verse 5 to 9. It says, who then is Paul, and who is Apollos, but ministers by whom ye believed, even as the Most High gave to every man? I have planted, Apollos watered, but the Most High have gave the increase. So then, neither is he that planteth anything, neither he that watereth, but the Most High himself that giveth the increase. Now he that planteth and he that watereth are one, and every man shall receive his own reward according to his own labor. For we are laborers together with the Most High. Ye are the Most High's husbandry, ye are the Most High's building. So the ministers of the faith go out and sow good seeds, and there are those that reap the benefits of completing that understanding in that individual in its time upon the Most High himself giving that water, right? Giving the understanding. If that person continues to want to seek the Lord while he may be found, they are those that will be enlightened with the wisdom and knowledge and understanding to separate the falsities and the false teachings. Verse 37 in John chapter 4. It says, and herein is that saying true, one soweth and another one reaps. Verse 38, I send you to reap that whereon ye bestowed no labor. Other men have labored, and ye have entered into their labors. Just like the Messiah, when he came and made disciples, that word has always been in the earth, but it has not abounded like it is now in full force, with the priests now being awakened to who they are, who they serve, and are being put in their rightful lot according to predestination to deliver unto those the living water, the actual living water, the baptism of repentance, like John the Baptist preached, and the baptism of prophecy and all understanding, like the Messiah came to fulfill, and completion. These are the works that we have entered into, right? Again, the Messiah, he worked nonstop around the clock, you know, trying to teach the lost sheep of the house of Israel, you know, who they are, where they were, and what they needed to do to get out of captivity. But there were those that were so infused with the culture in that time, and even in this time, that they thought him to be a devil, a drunkard, you know, a crazy person, until it was found out that he wasn't. Right? He was the Son of the Most High Yahweh. John chapter 12, verses 1 to 3. It says, then Yahushua, 6 days before the Pesach, came to Bethany, where Lazarus was, which had been dead, whom he raised from the dead. He taught him what he needed to know in order to bring back forth spiritual life into him, that life everlasting. Verse 2, there they made him a supper, and Martha served, but Lazarus was one of them that sat at the table with him. Verse 3, then took Mary a pound of ointment of spikenard, very costly, and anointed the feet of Yahushua, and wiped his feet with her hair, and the house was filled with odor and of ointment. Again, the Messiah, along with those that pertain to one of the 12 tribes, have been walking in a land, a dry land, barren of water, that living water. And the Messiah's task was to bring forth living water unto those, that they can receive that well of life that springs up in them, in a land that was barren of faith and righteous understanding. That spikenard that's being used there, it's a medicinal plant. And when it's made into the form of an oil, that spikenard, it has rejuvenating properties in it that relieves soreness and aches, especially on the feet. It draws out the pain that are in the feet. It has a warm and drying sensation. It helps with nausea and digestion, conjunctivitis, and then menstrual issues and inflammation. It has a relaxed and cooling feeling, almost like Bengay, but spikenard is like a healthy medicinal plant that does that. And it goes to show you that this was used on the Messiah's feet because of all the walking and all the exploitations that he was doing. Like, he took his lot very seriously, because the implications of it and not doing that leads your brethren ultimately to death, spiritual and or otherwise, when you don't teach those how to properly think, in a sense, and behave. They're walking in error, and you're watching someone just walk their way unto death. But we have statutes and commands from the Father on how to live to receive life everlasting, and not go into the ways that offer death. This is why it was so important, and it should be very important to us to tell people that, they need to seek the Father and keep his ways. Otherwise, they're going to suffer the penalties of the wrath to come when it's poured out in its fullness. And it's very, very serious. No one can ever say, no one told me, and why he didn't send anybody. No, he will send a messenger to everyone, either through the video, or someone out there on the street, or however you hear it. But you can never say, no one told me that. It'll only showcase that you were told, but the pride of your heart kept you from receiving the word. I have John chapter 9. John chapter 9 and verse 4. And it says, I must work the work of him that sent me while it is day. The night cometh when no man can work. There's going to be a time when this biblical understanding is going to be resealed, lock and key, and the prophets of old you will not be able to find. Along with the famine of food, there will be a famine of the real food that's able to restore your spirit and to give you the understanding to build up that faith in the times to come and then after. But those that do not receive it and do not hearken, whether you hear it forbear, it's ultimately up to you how you go about the next move. So I pray that this was edifying. We must remain diligent in the work to make our calling and election sure. Until the next time, Shalom.